Arsenal have got to choose one of the two strikers now, or maybe both. Conflicting news and hints everywhere. Conflicting news from credible journalists about Sesko and Victor Gyökeres, and also Arsenal strengthening the midfield with a player that I think is a brilliant signing for them. Of course, we'll talk about that. We'll see what this means for the Arsenal midfield. Does the Arsenal midfield get stronger? Did they just strengthen in the midfield? And what is going to happen with the striker? But before we talk about this, make sure to hit that like button. We're on the way to 35,000 subscribers. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe for daily news, daily videos, and also live shows. And let me know in the comments, how do you think this saga ends, of course, about Victor Gyokeres and, of course, Benjamin Sesko? We're going to start right away with Victor Gyokeres. It's very simple. DiMarzio, which is a credible source, have said that Arsenal are going for the Swedish striker Victor Gyokeres from Sporting Lisbon, the player who Arsenal have been linked to for a while, the player that have chosen Arsenal over the likes of Juventus, over the likes of Manchester United, and he's waiting for them. There are news that Liverpool might be in for him, and maybe that's why DiMarzio have tweeted this and said that Arsenal might actually accelerate the signing of Victor Gyokeres. He said that he's the #1 target. He said that he has been always the #1 target. He mentioned that he prefers Arsenal, but the price tag is still, there is a difference in valuation, as we mentioned before, between Gyokeres, between Sporting Lisbon, what they want and what they promise Victor Gyokeres, and what Arsenal want to pay, of course. And listen, all I have to say is that Victor Gyokeres, that would be my preference. That is personally, I want to know yours. Because at the current moment, there are reports that saying that Arsenal prefer Benjamin Sesko. Of course, there are other talks that Arsenal might sign. This is just distant talk that Arsenal might sign both. Arsenal are focusing on Gyokeres as a priority striker, but they're also talking about Sesko. Maybe that's how Berta's playing games, to lower the price for both, to lower the price for one, so they can choose. Victor Gyokeres himself is saying that he's not going to play for Sporting Lisbon again, that he's about to leave. So that is the door open for Arsenal to have the upper hand in this negotiation. Of course, Sporting are demanding 80 million pounds. That is not going to have 80 million euros. I'm sorry. Arsenal want to pay about 65 to 70 million euros max for him. So there is a difference in valuation. But again, it's in Victor Gyokeres' hand to try to negotiate the deal with Sporting Lisbon to let him go for Arsenal. Arsenal must decide, are they going to pay, are they going to negotiate, or they walk away? Of course, that is the deal that has to be done soon for Arsenal. I prefer Gyokeres. However, there are massive news that dropped from Fabrizio Romano that Sesko has followed Arsenal on Instagram. Of course, that is a massive news for Arsenal. Maybe he's given the hint that he's going to Arsenal. We actually don't know. His profile is public. You can go and check that he actually followed Arsenal in the last hours. Is he telling us that he is going to join Arsenal? Have Arsenal reached an agreement? He might be briefing the media. He might have briefed Fabrizio Romano. He might have told Fabrizio Romano to tweet that he's followed Arsenal. We know that players talk to journalists. We know that players talk to people to give hints here and there. But Arsenal are still in talks with Sporting Lisbon. This is, of course, Fabrizio Romano have actually quoted his tweet that said, as you see in front of you, the Arsenal are advancing in negotiations for Benjamin Sesko after initial concrete talks have been reported last week. That was on June 6th. That is about 3 weeks ago or some. So there is maybe negotiations were going in the background. Maybe Arsenal are waiting for July 1st. Because that is the new year for them, for the financial year. But he has actually tweeted that he followed Arsenal. Of course, that is Fabrizio Romano. And what means is maybe Arsenal have chosen their striker. You let me know in the chat, in the comment section, before like the video first. Do you think that Arsenal can sign both strikers, or they are keeping the door open in case Rodrigo is not on the market? We all know that Rodrigo might not be on the market depending on the situation at Real Madrid. Is he going to stay? Is he going to leave? And he's their main target for the left winger. We don't know. But for me, just personally speaking, if I'm an Arsenal fan, I would prefer Victor Gyökeres. But it looks like the club, which is very conflicting news, that prefer Benjamin Sesko. That's what a lot of people are saying. But also, there are other credible sources that saying that Arsenal prefer Victor Gyökeres. I'm going to ask you a question. I want your answer if you can. How is Victor Gyökeres rejecting Man United and rejecting Juventus, putting them on the shelf? If he doesn't have some assurances from Arsenal that they will go for him, the player must have some assurances from Arsenal. Or maybe Arsenal are briefing both Sesko and Gyokeres, telling them that you are our number one target. I actually don't know, but I believe that Victor Gyokeres is not going to just shut the door in the face of Man United or Juventus if he doesn't know or have assurances that Arsenal will sign him. I believe that Gyokeres will be a fantastic signing for them. I don't know a lot about Sesko. We watched some comps, we watched some games. Is he the finished article? Probably not. He has a lot of potential, as a lot of people see, but Arsenal maybe need the here and now players. I'm not going to rule out if Sesko goes to Arsenal and score 25 goals. I'm not going to say that. But I'm sure that Victor Gyokeres will score 25 plus goals for Arsenal because he suits the way they play. People say that Sesko suits Arsenal more because of the height and the set pieces, but football is not only about set pieces and the height. And if Arsenal get Rodrigo and Saka, these are two creative players that I believe that they will complement Victor Gyokeres a lot. So if it was me, I would prefer Victor Gyokeres to Arsenal. On another news for Arsenal close to agreement with Brentford for Christian Norgaard. That is David Ornstein tweeting. The deal is not done yet, but it's heading in the right direction. 11 million offer. Basically, what Norgaard is coming to Arsenal to do before anyone gets triggered is he's coming to be the backup for Zubamendi because Thomas Partey wants a lot of money and Arsenal cannot keep a player against his will. Though Thomas Partey has his contract ending at the end of the month, so he's about to leave and agree contract with someone else for the money. He wants an increase in wages. And I'm going to tell you something. As Fabrizio also tweeted, the Arsenal have already agreed the personal terms with the player, and the player wants to move to Arsenal. He's 31 years old. 10 million euros or something like this, or 11 million euros is not a lot for a backup player. I genuinely believe it's a very good signing for Arsenal for a backup player. Premier League experience. People want to banter Arsenal, and I don't think there is anything to banter here. He's a backup player, cheap. He's going to take probably he's not going to make a lot of money. And I think he has a lot of physicality in him. He's a very, very good player to play. And I'm going to give you a scenario before anyone jumps the gun and say that, oh, why didn't they renew Thomas Partey? What if they renew Thomas Partey for 150 to 200K a week for 2 years and then he gets injured like he's done many seasons before? People are going to say, oh, the club is stupid. Thomas Partey, if he's to stay to Arsenal, he had to take a pay cut because of his injury record. So the Arsenal went ahead and got Norgaard instead of Thomas Partey, which is, I believe, it's a very, very good signing for them. He's just a backup for Zubamendi and Declan Rice at the 6. He might be the third option for the 6 because if Zubamendi doesn't play, there might be a Rice. If Rice doesn't play, it might be Norgaard. So in my opinion, that is absolutely a very, very good signing. I'm going to ask you a question before we end the video, and I want to hear your answer, but make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Do you think Arsenal midfield got better with Zubamendi and Norgaard instead of Jorginho and Thomas Partey, or do you think it's a downgrade? Remember, Jorginho was there along with Thomas Partey, and now it's going to be Norgaard and Zubamendi. And also, do you think Arsenal can sign 2 strikers? You let me know in the comments what you think. You hit that like button if you're still here. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I will see you guys in the next video.